The silence of space was a lie. Inside the Earthship Odyssey V, the hum of control panels, the whisper of recycled air, and the occasional metallic creak of the hull reminded the crew that they were still tethered to the physical world, despite sailing through the void. Beyond the panoramic viewport stretched a canvas of black dusted with stars, and somewhere in that endless dark, the unknown waited. Captain Arlen Reyes leaned forward in his command chair, fingers steepled, eyes locked on the shifting patterns of data cascading down his display. He was a man shaped by precision and purpose, short-cropped hair, military posture, and a mind like a blade honed by 20 years of service. His expression was unreadable, but beneath it lay a quiet anticipation. Signal repeating every 17.3 seconds, reported Lieutenant Mira Zhao, her voice taut with curiosity. No known origin. Frequency doesn't match any catalog cosmic background sources or beacon protocols. Arlen didn't speak immediately. The bridge fell into a held breath. Could be a pulsar echo? Asked Rudo Klein, the mission's astrophysicist. He was young for his position, barely 30, but his intellect had earned him a place aboard Earth's most advanced exploratory vessel. Mira shook her head. Too deliberate. The signal modulates. It's encoded. Try running it through a linguistic model, Arlen said, and triangulate the source. The crew moved with practiced efficiency. They were 10 days beyond Pluto's orbit, further than any crewed Earth mission had dare venture. The Odyssey V wasn't just a science ship. It was a message wrapped in hull plating and ion engines. Humanity had stepped beyond its cradle, and now, finally, something was whispering back. 2 hours passed before the signal resolved into something structured. Mira patched it through to the main speakers. A low harmonic vibration filled the bridge. Not words exactly, but something that teased at language. Tones layered atop one another, rotating like gears in a cosmic mechanism. It was beautiful and utterly alien. Looks like a scan invitation, Haruto said, eyes wide. A call to be seen. Arlen stood. Helm, adjust course toward the source. Keep us steady at .15 light. I want eyes on whatever sent this. As the ship changed trajectory, the stars ahead seemed to stretch infinitesimally, space warping in minor distortions. The signal grew louder, more defined. It wasn't just inviting them. It was waiting for them. 17 hours later, the Odyssey V dropped from pulse drive into a dense region of interstellar dust. The crew braced for navigation recalibration, but the dust parted unnaturally, as if pushed aside by an unseen force. Then it emerged. The alien vessel defied classification. A city-sized structure of obsidian and gold, suspended in silence. Its design was asymmetrical yet balanced, like a sculpture carved by logic beyond human comprehension. Organic veins of light pulsed across its surface, patterns shifting in a rhythm that mirrored the signal they'd received. No weapons ports. No movement. No reply. Life signs. Arlen asked. Negative, Mira said. If there's anything aboard, it's not biological. Arlen stared at the ship, feeling the weight of generations in his lungs. This was it. The moment humanity had dreamed of, feared, prepared for. Proceed with caution, he ordered. Open a channel. Visual and audio. Broadcast universal greeting protocol. They waited. 10 minutes. 30. An hour. Then the light beam came. It wasn't a weapon, not immediately. A golden shaft extended from the alien ship, touching the Odyssey V like a finger of divine light. Systems fluttered, flickered, but remained intact. The beam didn't burn or disrupt. It examined. Every sensor aboard the ship went haywire, tried to measure it. Haruto yelled from a station. Captain, it's scanning us at the quantum level. I think it's mapping our molecular signatures, maybe even our thought patterns. The light intensified. Crew members blinked rapidly, complaining of sudden nausea. Mira staggered back, hand clutching her forehead. I can feel it, she whispered. It's looking inside. Arlen stepped forward. Disengage external comms. Lock down the bridge. I want every firewall up. Now! Too late. The scan pulsed once. The ship went still. 10 seconds passed. Then the light vanished. The alien vessel began to recede, folding it on itself like fabric slipping into a crease in reality. Within moments, it was gone. Just dust and stars remained. The Odyssey V drifted in stunned silence. Mira slumped in her chair, pale but alert. "It's gone." "No damage?" Arlen asked. "None," replied Arudo, though he didn't sound convinced. "Whatever it did, it wasn't hostile. But that wasn't just a scan. It felt like a test." Arlen nodded slowly. "And we passed." Haruto didn't answer. The ship returned to Earth with its data intact, images of the alien vessel, and the scan process sparked a planetary frenzy. The media hailed it as first contact. Governments released curated statements full of optimism and vague warnings. Behind closed doors, it was different. "Too precise," said Director Iov of Earth's Aerospace Intelligence Council during the classified debrief. They knew exactly where we were. That wasn't a random meeting. "And the scan?" asked the defense minister. "Comprehensive. Every system was exposed, including neural pathways. This wasn't diplomacy. It was surveillance, cold, methodical, and total." Reyes sat at the end of the long, oval table, silent until now. "It felt indifferent," he said quietly. "Not curious, not hostile, just clinical, like a scientist tagging an animal before releasing it. What do you recommend, Captain?" Iov asked. "Preparation," Reyes replied. "Because if that was the first scan, there will be a second." Back aboard the Odyssey V, docked now in high orbit over Earth, Mira sat alone in the med bay, examining her neural scans. Something was off. There was a pattern in her EEG, a loop that hadn't been there before, a frequency that echoed the alien signal. She reached out and replayed the recording, the harmonic tone, whispered again through the speakers. And this time, she understood a word. Not in English, not in any known language, but she knew it nonetheless. "Observe." Myra's breath caught. It hadn't just scanned them. It had left something behind. She closed the file and sealed the med bay. Above her, in the silence between satellites and stars, something stirred. And Earth, unknowingly, awaited the second scan. The stars no longer offered wonder. 2 years after the first encounter, they were regarded with suspicion. Satellites were rearmed. Orbiting platforms bristled with energy cannons. Earth had stepped fully into its defensive adolescence. From a bridge of Odyssey 6, Captain Celine Armitage watched the expanse with a soldier's eye. Unlike her predecessor, Arlen Reyes, who retired in quiet frustration, Celine was not a man of theory. She was forged from command, hardened by the Europa conflicts, the lunar siege, and the failed Martian colonies. Her face bore a thin scar above the left brow, a relic from Earth's last civil conflict, and her hands never trembled. "System checks green," came the crisp voice of Lieutenant Raj Patel, tactical officer. "Engine stable. Shield synced. All protocols engaged." "Excellent," Celine said, her tone neither warm nor cold. "Lieutenant Zhao, are we on course?" Zhao, Myra's niece, Elin, turned from her display, younger, brighter-eyed, but carrying the same sharp, inquisitive mind. "Yes, Captain. We'll reach the anomaly in 11 hours. No one spoke of the Arcthale directly anymore. It was now the anomaly, less threatening in documentation, more easily dismissed by those too afraid to look truth in the eye. But those who had studied the first scan knew what it had done. It had cataloged, assessed, and disappeared like a ghost into the void, leaving traces behind. Traces Mira Zhao had carried to her grave 6 months earlier. The pattern in her neural pathways had evolved. Some said it drove her mad. Others believed it elevated her. Celine knew one thing. Whatever it had left behind, it wasn't benign. The Odyssey 6 wasn't like its predecessor. Its sleek, hull-concealed classified weapon systems. Deep core resonance shields. A psychotronic disruption grid. Earth's best and darkest mind to build it not as a gesture of peace, but as a line in the void. And now, the anomaly had returned, not in signal, but in gravity. 3 days ago, observatories across the solar system recorded a spike, a ripple in space-time echoing the signature from the first encounter. But this time it didn't fade. It grew, stabilized, became a wound in space near Saturn's orbit, and through it, something immense loomed. No one called an invasion. Not yet. At 0200 hours, the Odyssey 6 exited pulse drive. The anomaly was visible even before the displays confirmed it. A ripple in space shaped like a jagged lens, pulsing softly, violet and gold. Beyond it, dim outlines twisted in impossible geometries. The alien vessel had returned, but it was no longer a single ship. "They've multiplied," Elin whispered. "Or evolved," Celine said. As the bridge adjusted visual filters, the structure came into focus. It was larger than any Earth continent, layered with intricate hexagonal platforms and teeming with motionless pods. Light traveled across its skin like veins of fire beneath obsidian glass. The ship did not move. It waited. "Send a wideband hail," Celine ordered. "Standard greeting. Include Mira Zhao's final recording." Raj complied. The signal vanished into the rift. Seconds later, the response came. No words, no sounds, only light. A beam snapped from the alien structure, striking the Odyssey 6 mid-hull with terrifying precision. The ship shuddered, not from impact, but from internal resonance. Lights dimmed. The artificial gravity fluctuated. Every screen went white, then black. "Report." Celine barked. "Systems responding." Raj said, "Fighting his panel." But they're distorted. Interfaces are rewriting in real time. Elin stared at her console, unmoving. "It's in the ship," she murmured. "The scan, it's not just copying us this time. It's speaking to us." A low hum rose from the walls. The metal vibrated gently, like a living thing. Crew members across the decks reported headaches, vertigo, visions. Engineers in Engineering Bay collapsed one by one. Medical AI reported neural anomalies. Celine activated manual override, shut down the main core, cut power to all external sensors. Now, the beam held. It wasn't draining energy. It was embedding something. On screen, the alien ship pulsed again, and this time, the light was different, sharper, directed. A surge of data flooded every terminal, but it was no language Earth knew. Symbols twisted like organic runes, flickering before translation protocols failed. Then, across every screen, a single glyph burned red, recursive and rhythmic, a spiral coiling inward. Elin clutched her head and screamed. Raj caught her before she hit the floor. "We have to leave," he said urgently. "This is an observation. It's infection." Celine agreed. She initiated emergency withdrawal, forcing the engines into a hard burn away from the rift. The light beam followed, but didn't pursue. It released them, but the damage was done. By the time they re-entered safe space, 10 crew members had fallen into deep, unresponsive states. Another 3 exhibited memory disintegration. One tried to open the airlock without a suit, claiming the dream below the skin had called him. Elin awoke 47 minutes later, eyes dilated, pulse normal. "They weren't scanning," she said. "They were mapping. Our minds, our patterns, our dreams." Celine stood beside her, watching the medical data stream. "Why?" "They're preparing," Elin replied, "for something." Back on Earth, the partial data stream transmitted before the interference hit was enough to shake the Global Council. A single translated string appeared amidst the corrupted code. Resource world identified. Harvest pending. Panic was a quiet word in the council chambers. The public received a scrub version, an unexpected communication anomaly. But the leadership knew better. Something had seen Earth, judged it, and made a decision. Celine stood before the council 2 days later via holographic relay. Her expression was taut, but not afraid. "They scanned us again. But this time, they implanted data structures, psychotronic waveforms. We're still analyzing what it's doing to our neural systems. But make no mistake, this was a prelude." Iov, older now, gray and tired, leaned forward. "Do you believe they're coming?" "No," Celine said. "They're already here, just not in the way we expected." The council chamber fell into heavy silence. Outside Earth's orbit, the Odyssey 6 hung silent in dry dock. Technicians in sealed suits examined its surface, noting microscopic ridges where the beam had touched the hull. They glowed faintly, pulsing in sync with Earth's electromagnetic field. Unseen, unnoticed, something beneath those ridges writhed, waiting. And far beyond Saturn, in the rift that was not a place, the Arcvale drifted serenely. It had scanned the body. Now it would learn the soul. Dr. Jonas Cade did not believe in prophecy, but he believed in patterns. And the one unfolding across Earth's neural networks was undeniable. The Arcvale second scan had not ended when the light receded. It had simply shifted mediums. Now it moved through humanity itself. From beneath the hardened dome of the Zurich Neurodata Research Center, Jonas watched as the neural harmonics display glowed crimson. The spiral glyph first seen on the Odyssey 6 had begun appearing in the dream signatures of over 300 individuals across Earth's major cities. Not uploaded, not transmitted, dreamed. He wiped sweat from his brow and leaned toward the quantum resonance scanner. Subject 8 is showing glyph repetition every 2.6 seconds, he muttered into his recorder. No external stimulus. Looping begins after REM entry, then locks into rhythm. Behind him, through reinforced glass, Subject 8, a 12-year-old girl from New Kyoto, lay strapped to a neurobed, her brain lit with activity equal to that of a seasoned mathematician mid-calculation. Her eyes fluttered. Her lips moved. She was whispering the spiral. Jonas turned away. Run cross-checks with the Voynich fragments, he told his assistant. I want to know if this pattern predates the first scan. Yes, doctor, came the soft reply. Celine Armitage had warned the council, but most governments hadn't listened. They fortified borders, not minds. They built satellites with guns, not tools for consciousness defense. And now it was too late. The Arcvale hadn't invaded with ships. It had simply infected thought. Jonas sat at his console and pulled up the restricted Mirajal files. The neural waveform she'd exhibited before her death now looked identical to what they were seeing in Subject 8, except Mira had managed to fight it briefly. She left behind a sequence, a signal embedded in one of her final EEGs. It read like static at first, but when inverted and slowed, it became a pattern of its own. He keyed it into the simulation grid. The waveform resisted integration, then clashed against the spiral with a flash of violet. Not harmony, conflict. Jonas leaned in, heart racing. There's a counter pattern. In the skies above, the Odyssey 6 had been quarantined. The crew, Celine included, placed under observation on Luna Base Theta. But Elanjao, no longer showing signs of infection, had been granted conditional access to Jonas's research lab. She entered quietly, flanked by 2 guards, eyes sharp beneath sleepless shadows. You found it, she said without preamble. How did you? I saw it in Myra's last dreams, Elin replied. The spiral's not just a signal. It's a lure, a code that reshapes the host by repurposing cognition. But Mira encoded resistance into waveform, something the Arcvale couldn't predict. Jonas stared. You mean she fought it from the inside? She learned to think in a language they didn't understand. Elin stepped forward and looked at the simulated grid, watching the counterwave push against the spiral. It was faint, but it held. If we can amplify this, she said, we might stop the infection. Jonas nodded slowly, thinking, we'd need to broadcast it globally. But our systems can't carry something this complex, not without folding it into a subconscious medium. It would have to be dreamed. Elin looked at him. Then we seed it. The plan was wild, bordering on reckless, but it was also their only chance. Using archived neural data from Mirajal sessions, Jonas built what he called a dream pulse, a cascading mental resonance that mimicked her brainwaves during the final moments before she flatlined. With Elin's help, they refined the signal, layering it into frequency bands used by Earth's deep sleep regulators, programs embedded in common wearable tech across billions. It was like fighting fire with fire, only quieter, subtler, one dream at a time. The council authorized the first test across a single city, Athens, for the floating arcology above the Adriatic Sea. Overnight, 72% of its sleeping citizens reported vivid dreams of water spirals breaking apart into light. There were no new spiral infections that night. By the end of the week, the Dream Pulse had been distributed to 70 nations under Project Echo. But the Arcthale adapted. The next wave came in silence. Subject 13, a woman in Lagos, suffered complete neural collapse without entering REM. Her autopsy revealed nanoscopic ridges carved into her optic nerves, shaped like inverted spirals. The infection no longer needed dreams. It had moved into waking thought. Jonas stood in the debrief chamber, eyes sunken but defiant. They're evolving faster than we can counter them. But they're not immune to resistance, Elin said. They didn't expect us to push back mentally. Celine's voice echoed from the comlink, patched in from Luna. Then we push again. Full scale. Get that signal into every channel. Not just the sleepers. Everyone. Thoughts, images, memory loops. We'll need a new waveform, Jonas said. Something louder, deeper. Myra's pattern is a whisper. We need a scream. That scream came from the unlikeliest source. In an abandoned transmission node near Titan's orbit, technicians recovering a crashed relay found a corrupted file, an echo from the Odyssey V, long thought silent. It was a fragment of Myra's voice, caught during her final moments in the med bay, layered beneath heavy distortion. But when Elin heard it, she stopped breathing. It's not just her voice, she said. It's a phrase. They filtered it. Distortion peeled away like layers of skin. I see you, Myriad said. I see you and you're afraid. Jonas played the file again. The spiral glyph on his console shimmered, then destabilized. It wasn't just a resistance code. It was a message of recognition. The Arcthale wasn't omnipotent. It hid behind scans, behind patterns. It mapped minds to control, not to understand. And when something looked back, truly looked back, it recoiled. Jonas uploaded the file into the pulse stream. The next night, 5,000 dreamers repeated Myra's phrase in their sleep. By dawn, 1,000 new spiral infections halted mid-sequence. The Arcthale had scanned Earth, but Earth had begun to scan it back. And what it saw was fear. The rift pulsed with erratic light, as if agitated by unseen forces. The Arcthale no longer drifted in stillness. It writhed. Spikes of energy burst from its surface at irregular intervals, warping nearby space. For the first time in recorded history, the anomaly was showing signs of stress. Celine Armitage stood at the observation deck of Luna Base Theta, eyes fixed on the relay feeds. Behind her, Jonas Cade and Elin Zhao worked in tense silence, coordinating the last of Project Echo's Phase 2 broadcast, a full-spectrum mental disruption stream crafted from Mira Zhao's final resonant phrase. The original plan had been defensive, containment, delay, but the success of the Dream Pulse, the halting of the spiral spread, and the reaction of the Arcthale itself had shifted Earth's stance. For the first time, humanity wasn't just surviving, they were retaliating. The new stream is ready, Jonas said without looking up. We've embedded the mirror sequence at layered frequencies. It should trigger recursive collapse in the glyph's cognitive anchor points. In plain English, Celine said. Elin answered, it's going to force the Arcthale to feel what it made us feel. Fear, fragmentation, doubt. Celine nodded once. Send it. A single pulse left Luna, silent, invisible, carried on dark frequencies outside the range of human perception. Across Earth and its colonies, minds already primed by the earlier wave resonated again, subtly synchronizing to the new pattern. The reaction was not immediate, but it was devastating. The Arcthale's outer structure began to deform. Portions of the colossal vessel curled inward, as if collapsing on itself. Energy conduits burst open like overripe fruit. Dimensional stabilizers flickered and died, revealing raw, seething space beneath its skin. For the first time since its appearance, the alien ship sent a signal. Not a scan, not a pattern, but a scream. It was not heard through instruments. It was felt across every human installation, from Mars mining camps to Earth's low-orbit megacities. People fell to their knees in tears, laughter, or silence. The wave was not pain, it was understanding. A flood of broken thought and ancient terror, not human in shape, but universal in weight. The Arcthale was not a god, nor a machine. It was a survivor, Elin Zhao stood at the center of the relay room, her hands trembling. "They weren't invaders," she whispered. "They were hunted." Jonas looked at her sharply. "By whom?" "I don't know," she said. "But the spiral, it wasn't a weapon. It was a defense, a memory of submission, transformed into control. They did to us what had been done to them." Celine turned from the viewport. "That doesn't change what they did. Billions affected, thousands dead." "No," Elin said, "but it explains it." Outside the base, the rift began to close, not with speed or violence, but with finality that made Jonas's breath hitch. The Arcthale structure disassembled in fractal fragments, each vanishing into folds of space that defied light. Where once there had been impossible geometry, now there was only emptiness. And yet, something remained. On the Odyssey 6, still quarantined in high lunar orbit, a system rebooted. No one had powered it. The bridge lights flickered on. In the captain's chair, the console bloomed with glyphs, not spiral this time, but a lattice of interwoven strands. Not infection. Information. Celine, now aboard with limited crew under strict psi-shielding, approached the console. The lattice shimmered and morphed until it resolved into a message. Not in words. In thought. "You saw U.S." She didn't speak aloud. She only thought, and the ship responded. "You resisted. You remembered." A quiet settled over her. Not the calm of peace, but the pause before understanding. Elin had said it best. The Arcthale had been hunted, shattered, perhaps scattered across stars, learning to rebuild not through steel or fire, but through minds. Their scans were not to destroy, but to find safe forms to hide within. Earth, in their logic, was a candidate not for conquest, but absorption. But when Earth resisted, something ancient in the Arcthale fractured. Jonas watched the data come through. The counter-spiral they'd seeded had not destroyed the alien cognitive structures. It had made them visible to themselves, a form of alien therapy, uninvited but effective. They were not ready for identity, Jonas muttered. We reminded them they had won. Elin joined Celine at the console. Her expression was unreadable. They left something behind. A final file blinked into existence, pure memory resonance. With one touch, the crew of the Odyssey 6 saw what the Arcthale had endured. Vast worlds aflame. Empires of thought collapsed into oblivion. They had fled into code, into dreams, into the folds of other species. They had survived by forgetting who they were, until Earth made them remember. Later, under the moon's steady gaze, Celine stood alone in the observation chamber. Ayal's voice came through the comm. "Is it over?" Celine didn't answer right away. She watched the rift close, the last shimmer of the Arcthale folding into dark space like a fading thought. "I think it's just beginning," she said. "We've sent a message to the stars." "What message?" "That Earth is not prey," she said. "Not host, not tool." She turned away from the stars and walked into the silence of the corridor. "We are the dream that dreams back."